Wells Fargo called them, I think, what, mortgage counselors, default counselors, something like that. We call them negotiators. My negotiator had said, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to, extend a workout option to you because you voluntarily purchased the motorcycle, which has caused you to fall behind. So, he raised Cain, and it got escalated to that negotiator's supervisor, who kind of had the same conversations with him, and said, I'm looking at my finances, I can afford it, et cetera, et cetera. And the supervisor calmly explained, you're right, your finances indicate that you have a monthly surplus of, whatever, but based on the decision that you made to purchase the motorcycle, that was a voluntary decision that caused you to fall behind, part of Freddie Mac's guideline, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, well, that still didn't make him happy, so it ended up being escalated to me. And, he was kind of one of those individuals that you could tell it was just going to continue to get escalated until he got some sort of definitive word or concession or what have you. So I ended up calling my loss mitigation contact at Freddie Mac at that time, and said, hey, Stuart, I got one on the line here, kind of explain the information, or explain the situation. Stuart pulled up his credit report while we were talking. I brought the man on board. Stuart said, sir, how can I help you? He vented, and I'm horrible, and my staff is horrible, and blah, blah, blah. And when the guy was done giving his part of the story, Stuart, basically said, I do see that, you have, your budget reflects, X $100 of surplus income per month, but Freddie Mac's guideline and our standard is that if you fell behind for reasons that were within your control, we choose to not extend a loss mitigation option to you because we believe, and he was kind of Dr. Phil before we knew who Dr. Phil was, that past behavior dictates future behavior, and you are likely going to redefault. So, the guy started getting kind of all upset again, and Stuart said, sir, can I just ask you one question? And the guy said, yeah. He said, is your motorcycle payment current? And of course, Stuart knew the answer to that when he asked. And the guy hemmed and hawed for a few seconds and then finally said, yes, it is. And of course, Stuart knew that. So he'd chosen to keep his motorcycle current, and his house had fallen 3 or 4 payments past due. He was one that I kept tabs on, and he did go to foreclosure. His loan did go to foreclosure sale. I think they abandoned the property, honestly, before it actually went to sale. So Freddie Mac will dig their heels in on this one, okay? I talked earlier, again, about not wanting to write the work rules for the agencies that you represent, not telling you to write hardship letters for people, but understand that the contents of the hardship letter can impact the workout decision. And here's a kind of an opposite example where a borrower was actually declined a workout in my world because they said they fell behind because of excessive credit card debt. Okay? Well, it can be kind of a gray area, but most of the time, most servicers are going to say, okay, you jacked up your credit cards on unnecessary items. No, we're not going to give you, in the Freddie Mac situation, we're not going to give you a workout. Well, about a month later, a housing counselor called me and said, I have so-and-so in my office here with me, and they submitted a workout application a month ago and were declined because it was a voluntary reason. So I pulled up the loan. Yes, okay, I see that. And the counselor was very nice and said, well, what they did not explain very well in their letter was that they had to use their credit cards because borrower 2 became extremely ill, and medical bills were taking all their cash, and they had to use credit cards to kind of bridge their living expenses. Okay, well, that's a horse of a different color. That's a totally different situation, but that's not what the original hardship letter said. So we got a new hardship letter, got some proof of the medical bills, and were able to ultimately provide them a workout. So the contents of the hardship letter might not matter if it's not a Freddie Mac loan, or it might not have huge implications, but it might. So as you kind of work with borrowers to develop them, maybe as you type them, however your work rules go, just keep that in mind. Any questions on that concept? No? Okay. The last thing I want to talk about, and I think 2:30 is my time, right? Ryan's saying 4? Just kidding. Yeah, no, no. I'm going to get home. The last thing I want to talk about is something we haven't touched on too much today because most of the people that have been here the better part of